Welcome back to Black Evolution, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Devin D in the house. Got a very special guest, very special topic. We're gonna talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma, and reparations. Here we go. Hey, hey, hey. All right, cut the music. So this is a very simple topic. Like I said before, we're gonna talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma, the race riots, and most importantly, reparations. I have a very special guest in the building. He is Mr. Entrepreneur, Mr. CEO, Mr. He is the job, Mr. Kidd Klutch Productions. How you doing, young brother?
I'm doing good, Daniel. It's always good to be on here. How are you?
Good, good. Always a pleasure to have you on here, brother. So let's get into it. So recently, in recent events, it's been 100 years since the Tulsa, Oklahoma race massacre. And I have to call it a massacre because back then it was called, they tried to call it a race riot. They tried to call it saying black people were agitating, black people were getting mad and getting violent when it was the other way around. They wouldn't even report it. People are just now talking about it after 100 years. And now the discussion is being had about reparations with Tulsa, Oklahoma. So Tyler, what are your thoughts on this situation, brother?
Well, first of all, I'm going to touch up on the part where they said it was black people with the right. Why is it that America, or even the world, has always tried to portray black people as the violent ones? When they have almost all the mass shootings that you see out here were committed by white people, white males. But they always want to find a way and say, well, black people are dangerous and angry. They want to say black women are angry, they're bitter, and then they want to say, black men ain't no good, they're lazy, angry, out of control. Or they want to characterize as predators, sexual predators.
Yeah, my thoughts on it is basically like they always want to portray black people as violent, as angry, as this and that. But really, it was them doing the violence and stuff. And then in the case of Tulsa, Oklahoma, they covered it up. They burned down everything. And then when the black people said, hey, we need restitution, we need reparations, stuff like that, we need our finances and everything else, they went to insurance companies. The insurance companies refused to pay them because they said, oh, you don't got the information. Well, the information was burnt down. That's what it is.
I'm going to go a step further with it. They didn't only do that, put signs up there and told people, prayer people, that if you talk about this, he'll kill you.
Yep.
So a lot of people for almost about 100 years, I'm not going to say even 100 years, but about 40 or to 1970 it first came out. So that has probably 60 years people stayed quiet. Because they was afraid they were going to lose their lives. It was just people were going to come after them.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to the people that always think that out here saying, well, why did they wait so long to speak out? Why all of a sudden? Because they would be a threat.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't. They wouldn't, those three that you see best that survived it, they wouldn't be here to tell a story. And they've been speaking up. And we got to stop it. Because we got to stop this mess. Because every time an issue comes out, we try to apply 2021 standards to something that happened hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
Instead of us looking in the mind frame of then. Like I always hear people saying, well, if I was a slave and something back then, I would fight back. No, the hell you wouldn't. Because your mindset would be in 2021. You would be just like them.
Yeah. And all these pro-black people talking about if I was a slave, I would have fought back. I would have did this and that. I wouldn't kneel down to massa. I would have stood up. I would have did. You wouldn't. And I'm telling them, you wouldn't do a damn thing. You wouldn't do nothing.
And don't get me wrong, there were some slaves that fought back.
Yep.
But they didn't live to tell the day. A lot of them got killed.
Yep. Died. Nat Turner dead. And also they either got killed or got betrayed by one of their own people.
Yeah.
In there.
So we gotta have more compassion when speaking about this stuff.
Yeah. A lot of people don't want to speak. They don't want people to speak out. Back then, they wanted people to shut up and keep quiet. Even recently, with the whole like in terms of having black leaders speak out, there's during the civil rights era, you had Dr. King and Martin Luther and Malcolm X getting death threats, saying "Be quiet, shut up." or we gonna kill you, or we gonna threaten you.
Ultimately, losing their lives.
Yeah, and basically they are talking about. I watched a documentary with Malcolm X. They saying he gets a brick thrown into his house, and then they call him saying the brick was just a warning. Next time we're gonna firebomb your house. You better keep quiet and shut up.
And that's bad.
Yeah, threatening him. So like, you better keep quiet.
I always equate things that when a black leader, you can tell when they doing something right, they getting a bunch of death threats.
Yeah. But, yeah, they don't see no death threats. They're doing something wrong. They being controlled. They're being used as a puppet.
Mm-hmm.
It's controlled opposition. That's what I call it. Yeah. Controlled opposition.
Yeah.
And speaking of controlled opposition, recently there's been a video of the Black Caucus dancing near Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I'm gonna have a description. I'm gonna have a video in the description of this show. But basically, it just shows them dancing and partying in Tulsa. And I'm like, okay, I understand why you're celebrating, but the thing is, it's not the time to celebrate, because there was a massacre that took place there. They should be fighting, to get reparations for them people that survived and everything else, their descendants and everything else, and also for the other massacres, Rosewood and countless others. They need their reparations because they had communities that were being burnt down and what have you. And now you got all these politicians, they taking their sweet time when it comes to our issues. And my question is, why is it that when you have these politicians, whenever it comes around election time, they make all these false promises, but when they get in office, they don't do nothing. They sit there and take their twimes, but you have the Stop Asian Hate campaign that's going down. And keep in mind, I want to make a disclaimer. I have no problem with the Asian community or nothing. But what I'm saying is, when the Asian hate bill passed quickly, it's passed quickly and no problems, no issues. But when it comes to black people and getting their reparations and everything else, we need to do a study. We need to do this. We need to do that. Oh, let's not have it be reparations. Let's have it be housing. Let's have it be this. Let's have it be. It's like they're trying to make the issue go away. Make the issue go away, or try to deflect. Try to be, it's gonna be housing. It's gonna be this. It's gonna be maybe it's not. Maybe checks is not the way. I'm like, well, you have reparations for other groups of people. When Japanese internment, during World War II, when you had Japanese internment camps in the United States, they got their reparations. You had, the Holocaust that happened, and then the Jewish people, they got the reparations, and the United States continued to funnel money into them and everything else. Not that they shouldn't get the reparations, but congratulations, they should. But when it comes to you should be fair across the board and not just give reparations to other groups of people. When it comes to black people, you take your sweet time. That's a problem. You can't be doing that.
Slavery. The slaves and get the slave owners got reparations.
Yeah. There's black people were promised 40 acres and a mule, but they didn't get that. Mm-hmm. Then when we tried to do for self and build our own communities, they wanted to burn it down and say this and that. I did some research in there recently in Wilmington, and it happened in North Carolina back in the 1800s, where they basically they did a coup d'etat. There's a black business newspaper and everything, speaking the truth and speaking truth to power. Then the white mob came in there and went up in there. It was a black governor. He was in power and stuff like that. The white mob came in there and said, "You will resign, or we will kill you," and this and that. And he had to resign and stuff. And I said, this sounds familiar. It sounds like the insurrection that happened January 6th. Or a white mob was threatened by a politician, and then they go up there and threaten the politician, saying, "Hang this and hang Mike Pence and do all this stuff and threaten the Capitol and storm the Capitol and stuff."
And you know why that was? Because they don't think black people were legitimate citizens.
Yeah.
They believe when a black person vote, when black people vote, put their leaders in there, they don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
They're saying it's not legitimate because they shouldn't allow them to vote.
Yeah.
This is nothing new. This all started in the 1992 election with Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first time where blacks actually their votes really started to matter.
Yep.
Election.
Even in the 1960s, during the Civil Rights Movement, you had black people getting the right to vote, and then we're having our voting power. Malcolm X talked about this in the Ballad of the Bullet speech that he gave. He said in 1964, he said that's a political era. Everybody's getting active, getting politically educated and everything else. And that you should use your power for your self-interest. And don't just vote for either a Democrat or Republican, because he describes them as, he considers the Democrats as a crafty fox and the Republicans as a ravenous wolves. Well, the Republicans, you know where they stand and what have you. For the Democrats, they try to pretend to be your friend or pretend to be your benefactor when really they're not. And also with LBJ, he said we're gonna have black people vote Democrats for over 200 years, and this and that. We're gonna have to give them a little bit of something, not everything. Because he said this is his words. He said these Negroes are getting uppity. There's even a worse word that he said than that, but I'm not even going to say it because it's the most hated word in the English language. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to stoop to his level. But just to let you know that that's what he said. It was sick and disgusting.
I'm glad you said that, because this is just basically about black people getting more politically educated. Because the reason why these groups, when it comes to black people and even Hispanic groups, for the most part, be educated. Not all of them. I'm like I say, all of black people Hispanic. But I'm saying a lot of them. They only engage in the political process and they're elected here. Other than they don't research these candidates, a lot of them probably, not saying it's white people too, a lot of them don't know their congressmen, their senators, or nothing. So that's why we got a lot of this, because people are not actually
taking the time to do some research and research their candidates, look at the candidates. Recently, it also goes to show you their actions. Recently, there was a North Carolina DA who said the Andrew Brown shooting was justified. This is a North Carolina DA saying that. So it goes to show you that if you don't know who your DAs are, you don't know who they are and everything else, it can have disastrous consequences. Because by not knowing who they are and stuff like that, you can allow somebody to get in power and stuff like that. He may not have your best interest at heart politically.
And also, this is why primary elections are important, because your primary in your party basically determine who the nominee will come to that position. Just like you may have a white Democrat or a black Democrat, and that black Democrat may stand for your interest, but you didn't go vote, and that white Democrat becomes the nominee, and their interest is probably not aligned with yours. So then what you have going on with the stuff you need is not important to them. So they're gonna ignore it because they know they're gonna get the black vote. So black people, they gotta start doing is get your people in there.
Yeah.
Get those that actually align with your values. Get them in there.
Yeah, align with your political interests.
Those that are not, you gotta
vote them out.
Get them out.
Or
and also too, you gotta make demands. The reason why the black vote and stuff is taken for granted because they know they're gonna go vote. And they say you have no other option. You really don't when you go on by the two-party system, because one party is for democracy and progression in the world, and the other is for insurrection and white supremacy. So with that, there's really no choice. But here's what your choice is at when primaries come up. If you make smart choices during the primary, general election will seem easier. We gotta stop trying to look for the perfect candidate, perfect this, perfect that. And we gotta start thinking about legislation. The legislation process does not go anywhere because you're not keeping our focus on that. And I saw somebody on her name is Teslin Ferrago. And she said the thing with black people, they think more, they talking more about that when that girl put the gorilla glue in her hair. They said they were talking more about that than what was going on with Georgia and all these other Florida and these other states taking voting rights away from black. That's the thing. Somebody said you shouldn't focus on anything else, but you got to walk and do them at the same time. And engage in the political process, because if you don't get politically educated, you're never going to advance as a group. We don't get financially educated.
You'll never advance financially and get black businesses and
stick together.
And support our own communities. Cause I'm tired. One thing I've noticed a lot of, so unfortunately, some of our people, Tyler, they don't support black businesses. They rather go outside of their communities and support other businesses than everything else. When it comes to black businesses, they don't want to deal with it. They say, "Oh, it ain't gonna be successful. It ain't gonna be this. It ain't nothing." And I'm like, you don't even know that. Because you think it's a black business, you think the value is lesser. Versus a white-owned business. Versus a white-owned business, you think is greater, and it's not. It could be the same value, or the black business could be even more valuable. But you so conditioned to train.
But it can be less, but it doesn't have the funding as the white one.
Mm-hmm. But they're so trained to think that white is better that they don't even see that. They think that I have to mention this. There's a book called Powernomics. It's by Dr. Claude Ennis, and he talks about this. How black people don't support their own businesses. Yeah, we need to build our own businesses and build our own communities. How we need to get politically educated and not just vote blindly to any party, either the Democrats or the Republicans. You have to vote within your own self-interest and get politically educated. Know who your candidates are. Know what their policies are. Know what everything is. Because if you don't, you allow people who get into power and they're not in for your self-interest, and it causes division.
That is so true. And also, I want to add to it by saying, when you said, I don't know how many times that you and I came on here and said that there's a lot of black people that don't support black businesses and they're mad about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, tell them, okay, support black businesses. They make it, they don't have anything to do with it. It has a lot to do with it. That's the first thing. Economics is the number one driver of any economy.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were saying is, that's the thing with Black Wall Street, it was so successful. But what they were saying with Black Wall Street was, it had the same problems as the United States. It was segregated.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't have sustained if we didn't start allowing others to buy from us too. But I forgot how many times. I think I don't want to get anything wrong. I think they said, during Black Wall Street,
mm-hmm.
the currency that came into that community, it went to the community 14 times before at least you're not buying. That's crazy. And nowadays you never see them in the black community.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays the black communities ain't even owned by black people.
Yep.
They owned by other races.
Yeah, other races can go in the black community and create businesses and everything else, but every time we build black businesses, our own people don't even want to support.
Yep, man, that's a big problem. And what I want to say with that is, if we're going to do black businesses, why people, and I say black people do this a lot. Other races, when they want to start a business, they're starting something that they're actually good at.
Mm-hmm.
Something that they have a passion for. But when the black businesses, when they started, they tell people, well, don't start that up. But you need to start something like this up. If they're not educated in that or qualified or I'm not even say qualified, I don't like that word. If they're not knowledgeable in that specific business, why should you tell them to start it?
Mm-hmm.
Get somebody else to do that. And I see too where you're saying the lack of black doctors and black lawyers and black judges. The reason why is because they start them off so late.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, they don't understand. You get in debt with a lot of them stuff. Going to school for that. So why would they rather go to a trade school or go to barber school or become a basketball player or rapper or something like that, and they make fast money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more money they can put in their community rather than you going to get a doctor or even a lawyer and you're trying to save money that you don't have.
Yeah.
But I also want to say too with that, if we're going to do black business, we can't just think the major ones, we got to start small.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, barbershop. That's what Black Wall Street has. Barbershop, beauty shop, bank, hospitals.
Yep.
Things like that. Things that keep the economy running.
Yeah, don't think of these big corporations and this and that. No, just start small, like black barbershops, like you said, black beauty salons, black hair products, black all these other businesses, hospitals, schools. We need to have our own black schools and stuff, and increase our value, increase our education, because that's important too. Not to be miseducated.
That's Black Wall Street. A lot of that stuff was based on education and economics.
Yes.
They did it small. They didn't try major, but they did it small, and that stuff stayed in their community.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we have more of those things, it would be better. But we can't just do it in one area like that. You gotta have it in every area.
Yep. I agree with you on that, brother. So, Tyler, what's your final thoughts on that?
We have to mean it. We gotta do it. We gotta work together. It's not gonna be easy, but we got to do it because 99% of the businesses in the world are small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let the hype. Don't buy the hype from the media that corporations run the world. No, the corporations, they use their influence and money over the world, but actually, the regular people run the world. Workers run it.
Mm-hmm.
Small businesses, little guys run it.
Yeah.
So if we can get back to the basics, we can get things shaken. And that's how I'm going to leave it on it.
Yep. My final thoughts are done this. In regards to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and all these massacres and everything else, they need to get reparations, and they need to get it now. I'm telling the Black Political Caucus and everybody else, do not waste time when it comes to our issues. Don't waste time. Keep fighting the good fight. Keep keeping the faith. But at the same time, too, there's no time for celebration. Don't be dancing over there at Tulsa.
I have one thing to add on the reparations part, too. We have to stop allowing them to minimize our pain, our struggles, and our needs when it comes to getting things done.
Mm-hmm.
Because when other people other groups come to Congress saying we need this done, it gets bipartisan support for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
It goes through. But when it comes to black people, they always tell them, well, can we compromise this? Can we take this out of the bill? And they want to water it down.
Yeah.
We want a strong bill.
Yep.
And with reparations, they can't. You got to go big or go home.
Yeah.
Because reparations, if we don't get the conversation started now, when it's time to get the bill passed, it's not going to go anywhere. We got to make noise for this.
Mm-hmm.
We need every black person, white person, with good faith around this country to make noise about the reparations.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only way we're going to heal this country, through reparations.
Yep.
Black.
Yeah, be specific. Don't try to lump in. Don't try to lump in other groups of people saying, "Oh, they're gonna get it too." No, it's specifically a black issue. Do not try to lump in other groups of people talking about, well, it's gonna go to everybody. Why is it when it comes to black people, they always want? Yeah, that's how it goes downhill from there. They always want to lump in everybody else. This is specifically a black issue, black African American descendant of slaves issue. This is not other group of people issue. This is our issue. That's all I want to say about that, and close on that. And when it comes to black businesses, support, and also support not only just the big businesses but the small businesses, so you can get more businesses and accumulate wealth and accumulate generational wealth. That's the ultimate goal. Accumulate generational wealth and know the value of money, so that we can put it into our communities. This is Dad Daniel. This is Kidd Klutch Productions, and we signing off.